Spaniards settled in Texas. Since the end of winter, your family and friends have been helping to build the new mission in honor of Saint Joseph, San Jose. In fact, you spend most of your time there now. You and your father help lay bricks on the roof of the church and the houses. Your mother and sisters cook meals and tend to the garden. You miss your old village, but the mission does have good points. You like the fresh food from the garden. You're learning to read and write. Best of all, you've made new friends. The bells ring out. It's chapel time. After you say your prayers, you might speak to the priest. You can ask him if the Spanish plan to stay in this place. You wonder if they will live here for a long time. Spanish missions in Texas. LaSalle's French colony failed, but Spanish leaders still worried that French would try to claim more land in Texas. With the help from the Roman Catholic Church, the Spanish built missions or religious settlements in Texas. Missions often included a church, houses, and farm building. The Spanish believed that the missions gave them a strong claim to the land. The Spanish usually built missions near places already settled by Native Americans. A priest, or padre, was in charge of each mission. Padre is the Spanish word for father. The padres taught the Native Americans about the Roman Catholic religion and introduced them to other Spanish customs. Corpus Christi de la Este, the first Spanish mission in Texas, was built more than 300 years ago in 1682. It still stands today near El Paso. You may know it as Mission Isleta. The city of Isleta grew up around the mission. In the early 1700s, the Spanish built more missions. 5 of them were located around the source of the San Antonio River. The nearby water, trees, and stones were used as building materials. Mission San Jose San Miguel de Aguayo, Mission San Jose for short, was so important to the community of San Antonio that it became known as the Queen of the Missions. People still attend church services there today. Missions, Pestitos, and villas. Mission buildings were usually surrounded by high stone walls. Spanish settlers and local Native Americans attended church and school there. At Mission Workshop, they made goods such as pottery, baskets, and tools. Some Native Americans chose to move their families to the missions. The missions offered food and shelter in payment for work, but at some missions, the Spanish forced Native Americans to live and work there. Some groups of Native Americans were angry that the Spanish had settled on their land. They attacked the missions. To protect themselves, the Spanish built pestidos, or forts. Soldiers in the forts defended people in the missions during attacks. Villas, or towns, often grew up between and around the missions and the pestidos to provide goods and services to both. Most settlers in the villas were people from northern Mexico. They were seeking good farming and ranching land. People from Africa and from Spain's Canary Islands also lived in the villas. Both men and women planted and harvested crops. Everyone helped with the animals. Some people in the villas offered services, like trading or blacksmithing. For enjoyment, the people had dances, concerts, and fiestas or celebrations. New culture. Throughout history, people from many different backgrounds settled in the land we know as Texas. Each group, from hunters of the plains to woodland farmers, introduced its new culture. Spaniards brought horses and European cattle with them to the Americas. It did not take long for Native Americans to see that riding horses and herding cattle could enrich their lives. In the missions, Spaniards introduced foods such as onions, grapes, and wheat to the Native Americans. In turn, Native Americans showed the Spanish how to grow and prepare corn, tomatoes, beans, and potatoes. Many Native Americans were interested in church music of the mission. Many learned to play European instruments. Here is what Spanish priest Father Soles wrote in 1767. Most of the Native Americans play some musical instruments, the guitar, the violin, or the harp. All have good voices, and on Saturdays, a choir of R with musical accompaniment sings so beautifully that it is a delight to hear it. Like the music, the new culture was no longer just Spanish or Native American. Instead, it was a blend of many cultures that had come together in the missions and other areas north of the Rio Grande. Spanish heritage in Texas. Today, Texas is filled with signs of its Spanish heritage. Many Texans speak Spanish. Many places bear Spanish names, such as Laredo, the Brazos River, Atascocita County, and the Guadalupe Street. Tex-Mex foods are a blend of Native American and Spanish ways, and Spanish ways of churches are built in the style of Spanish missions. If you look at and listen to the arts in Texas, you'll often notice a Spanish flair. Music, theater, and visual arts, dance. Yes, the Spanish influence on Texas culture is everywhere. It reminds Texans of the people who helped create the Texas we know today. And then here's just an overall summary of the things that we read. Missions were built near American Indian settlements and sources of water. They were built using the nearby materials of stone and trees. The priests and the Spanish families' work included laying tiles on the roof of the church and houses, cooking meals, tending gardens, and praying. A priest, or padre, taught the American Indians about the Roman Catholic religion and other Spanish customs. At the missions, the American Indians attended church, school, and work. They were given food and shelter in exchange for work. The work included making pottery, baskets, and tools. Farming included planting and harvesting crops such as onions, grapes, and wheat. They also helped with the animals such as sheep and cattle. Some American Indians chose to move their families to the missions. The missions offered food and shelter and payment for work. But at some missions, the Spanish forced American Indians to live and work there. Life for the American Indians at the mission was often difficult and harsh. Because of life at the mission, many American Indian groups lost their traditions, culture, and original ways of life. Some American Indians who lived in missions worked at Vasquirtos or cowboys. The Vasquirtos drove cattle from southern Texas ranchos or ranches to Louisiana. These ranches were among the first in Texas. Ranching supplied people with meat, leather, and tallow, and animal fat used in making candles. The Spanish soldiers protected the mission from other Native American groups. The soldiers lived in vestidos or forts near the mission. Okay, now that we have finished, I need you to work with your reading partner or your partner in your class and complete the questions on the last page, and you need to turn it in by the end of the day.